Guys, welcome to the Ball Boys AFL Fantasy Podcast. Today we are previewing, I should say, round 9, where we are going to talk some big boys, as you just heard, and also talk about trade targets and answer your questions. Let's go!
Hodges done it from nowhere. Hodges in the goal from inside the 30. Sheed from the boundary. Dusty.
G'day and welcome to the Ball Boys AFL Fantasy Live on a Thursday. And on a Thursday, it's got us all fucked up. We're all over the shop already. Typical Ball Boys. But I am joined, as always, by Luke, coach of the Mighty Oxlongs. How are you, mate?
Well, you know I love me a big boy, so I had to slip the big boys in early.
It's gone early.
The more times we get to listen to the big boys' music, then the happier I am.
Some might say that was an accident, but I reckon you did that on purpose.
Sneaky.
So it's obviously a Thursday, mate. We're going a little bit early this week.
It is.
So
not like us to go early.
No, we're always, right on time. But we are obviously recording this before the teams are dropping, so
Correct.
we'll have to fly a bit blind today. But there's already a few, murmurs and rumours flying around, some news about some players being available and not available. So we'll get stuck into that, and then we'll also go through the trade targets and the order. A few that I've got to split some hairs on. I'll get your help in. And also, of course, like we've alluded to at the top of the show, the top 10 captains with a couple of... There's 3 games before the Saturday this week. We've got 2 Friday night games this round as well, which is
all happening.
something to keep you on your toes. All right, so...
Well, something I want to do before we get started, we've forgotten to do this in the last couple of episodes with our new software and whatnot. We haven't had it all set up, but we do want to give a shout out to Infinite Wealth and the Content Creators Cup. So for those of you guys who don't know, Infinite Wealth, Tim Guest's company there, sponsors the Content Creators Cup, and it's obviously a little bit of fun. People getting together to play fantasy, but obviously at the end of the day, there's money going towards a good cause as well. So you guys don't get to miss out on the fun as well. So Guesty has generously offered the Make Smarter Financial Decisions course as a free gift to all fantasy players. So $3,000 worth of value for free. Just head to infinitewealth.com.au/AFL fantasy and join in the fun there. And of course, we both did it last year. And
yeah, man, it was good.
Really enjoyed it. So if you haven't, head over there, check that out, and we'll keep giving you guys the regular updates on the Content Creators Cup as well.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely worth checking out, guys. Would definitely recommend. Who have you got this week in your matchup, Luke? Who are you taking down?
Jeez, I haven't got that far. Who have you got?
Oh, I've got the red hot Sherry Peppers, which is Louis from the Pod. So
Louis having a rough year this year.
I also love Louis' team names every year. He goes a bit against the grain. He doesn't have the same every year, but the red hot Sherry Peppers it's a good team name. So
I'm taking on MJ. So we'll see how it goes.
See how we go. So, yeah, a bit of a hot streak going at the moment. 5 on the trot. So hopefully we can keep it going. So let's talk about some of the team news that's going down. We've got it's not going to be a sweet round this week.
Turn sour.
It's going sour. Sickly sweet maybe because John Sweet is out.
He is.
With the mysterious virus.
The mighty vid.
I don't know why we can't just fucking say he's got COVID. Have you noticed that all the things are just saying, he's got
virus.
Illness, he's out with a virus. Like, why can't we say he's got COVID? Is there a weird conspiracy thing going on here?
I don't know. I didn't take Sweetie for the tinfoil hat kind of guy, but
it's more the reporters. But anyway, he's out.
Well, this sucks in more ways than one. For us, it sucks a little bit because we have him at R3. Obviously, we want the cash gen while Big Soldo's a no-show.
Yep.
But for others, it sucks hard.
I want to run you through a scenario which has definitely happened to some people. You've got a Tristan Sherry or a Brodie Grundy.
Yeah.
You trade them. You see the Sweet 88. You go, okay, I'll take that.
Yep.
You trade them down to Sweet or really across to a Tom Green, who was a popular trade in last week.
Go 7.
So you get a 7. You
Grundy,
lose the
Sherry.
134 from Brodie Grundy.
Yeah.
So you've got the Tom Green. You cop that. And then this week you've got Sweet out, who is going to be a big fat donut unless you make a trade there. So not only do you lose a 134, not only do you trade in a 7, you also then have to make another forced trade this week to make sure you avoid a donut. That is, I'd throw the toys.
You probably take your toys and leave.
Yeah, that would do me. I reckon.
Packing up and you're done.
That's
that hurts.
That's a really really shit sequence of events. So. But what are we doing with Jordan Sweet? Like, you can't cop donuts.
Oh, man, you can't cop donuts, can you? Look.
As sweet as they are.
You ripped that. I saw that.
I did. I've seen it somewhere. I can't remember where I saw it.
I think it might have been, it might have even been Mini Monk. I think you have to pull off something, don't you? You have to try and move him to a mainstay ruckman in English.
Do you move Jordan Sweet to a ruckman, or do you try and do a bit of trading around, and if he's at your R2, do you move him to R3? What are your thoughts there? Do you still want to hold Jordan Sweet just for the cash in over the next few weeks? Or
Well, I mean, we have had other bullets this week, like forced trades, haven't we, that we think are going to be more than a week. So if you could potentially, I haven't explored this with my team, but if you could potentially do something with Yo, you've got to get Yo off, so moving him, and, well, you know how I like it to keep up team morale.
What a good coach, mate.
I have my ways, mate. I'm willing to do anything for team morale. So we got to get Yoey off. But if you've got some of those other bullets that are going to be more prolonged bullets, then perhaps, there's ways to go about it.
Fuck with Charles.
That sounds like... Yeah.
But yeah, I do think, like, if you get a premium in, someone like a Tim English, while he's not maybe like valued like some of the other guys are, I think that if you've got that R2 Jordan Sweet option, I think Tim English is going to be an excellent option. I'd be getting him over anyone else, just so I don't have to have that 0 on my field. I know some people have talked about just copping the donut and moving on. I don't think you can do that. Like Jordan Sweet was good, but like there's no guarantee that he just walks back into the side next week as well because you've got Finlayson, I think, is coming back now after.
Don't tell me these things.
I mean, I expect him to be there, but there is a world where you think you just hold him for 1 week and then next week he's not even there. So
that's bloody rotten. How unlucky are we, mate? That's rotten luck.
Yeah, bloody our cash gen, mate.
That's killer.
That sucks.
We've been screwed. In somewhat more positive news, Tom Green, the updates coming out that he'll be playing this week. So
there was a bit of doubt earlier in the week that he was going to miss this week, but the coach has come out and says that
confident
he's going to be.
It begs the question: why didn't he play the rest of the game then?
Well, yeah, but it also begs the question: how much can we trust these coaches? Because there was another coach last week that literally played his player and then went, you know what? Nah, half time, get back on the bench. Are we? Is this a Connor Rosie part 2?
Are we just going the old?
Or can we be more confident with an ankle versus a hamstring?
Oh, he does have 2 ankles. He could do the other one. You never know what happens.
Oh, shit. No, I think I'd feel a bit more like if he's named and he's there, like he's playing on the ankle, right?
I agree. Well,
just hope that he's
struggling to play on anything else.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's not a Tristan Sherry. He's not running on his face. But I think if he's there, he'll be there.
Yep.
But I'd just be hopeful that he's not laid out. So
if he's there, he'll be there.
Quality advice.
Yeah, 100%. Little bit of news on Rosie, looking at about 1 to 2 weeks, which I think we probably all
1 to 2 is the worst designation on the injury website.
Yeah,
because
it's all happening.
1 you hold, 2 you trade, and it says 1 to 2.
1.5. What do you do?
It's like over-unders. It's the hardest decision to make. So I think if you've got a suite at R2, I'm trading Rosie just to kind of fix up that issue.
Okay.
Hopefully you can get into English, and then maybe if you've got a Yo, you can get him down to someone like an Oliver or some of these other guys we'll talk about in a second, and hopefully fix 2 birds with 1 stone and go with that one there.
Now, I want to pick your brains on the downgrade targets for this week. We'll talk about upgrades.
This has been my issue for the week. I've been asking different minds all over the place, different podcasts, and I've come up with a top 5 downgrade targets for myself.
That's why I want to hash it out, because I think everyone will probably acknowledge in this week where we're looking for a downgrade target, there's not one that stands out that we go tick job security, tick scoring potential, tick unvestable. That all of these guys have a little caveat going on with them. And so, this third guy, particularly on the list we'll talk about, is some perhaps lateral thinking as well. So what do you think of downgrade targets, mate?
So downgrade targets, I am still of the belief that your best downgrade targets are the cheapest ones because they have the most opportunity to make as much cash as possible.
If they play.
But I am starting to get a bit more confident that, number 1, I've got Darcy Jones. I think he's obviously moved past
Harvey.
the GOAT, Harvey Thomas. And I think his spot in the side is safer than some people maybe are making it out to be. He's a guy that's sort of a high draft pick, I believe, as well. So there's a bit of incentive to get him out there and play him. So I think if he's named this week, I still feel good that he's pretty close to best 22.
Okay.
And he's got a good break even. He's put up a couple of good scores. The eye test, he ticks it as well. So to me, I've got him at number 1. Number 2, I have Lachlan Sullivan, which is where I think I'm going to be going this week. Now, I don't have Darcy Jones. But I'm going Lockie Sullivan just because that 60k difference between the 2 players is going to be, I think, potentially the difference between next week, me getting the upgrade that I want. So the gap between 1 and 2 is not that big that, if it stuffs up your trades the following week, I would be happy to go a cheaper one. I just think there's a few injuries going on at the Pies, even outside of Tom Mitchell and Jordan De Goey. You've got, I think McCreary's obviously concussed. Mychek's done a hamstring, so he's out for 3 weeks with a hammy. I think there's another one that I'm forgetting there as well. So
I think there's enough spots that sticks around.
And he can play on ball. He can maybe do a high half forward role there as well. He looked really good. They're going to milk that story of, working hard to earn your spot for a little while. He's got the Eagles this week, so if he can come out and give himself a good game against the Eagles, that will hopefully hold his spot. It's a bit of cross your fingers sort of stuff, but from what we saw as scoring in limited time, it was pretty good. Number 3, I do have Colby McCutcheon. I think this is where you're looking this week.
Yeah, so I obviously want to talk to you about this, but I want people's opinions in the chat as well, because in a week where, like I said, we're probably umming and ahhing about a few of these rookies, is there space to perhaps go. It's a little bit more sideways-ish, but someone like a Roberts who's now got a 40 on it in his score, his break-even's shot up to the mid-80s.
Nearly 100k.
Yeah, so I mean, Roberts, I still feel comfortable he's going to be a good scoring rookie, but if you can make 100k there and potentially get equivalent scoring from those two players, and their cash generation's now on opposite trajectories, and that allows you to turn Yo into an underpriced premium. Let's call it a Sinclair, let's call it a Parrish. If you want to go even cheaper, Oliver's down from Yo at the moment. But like, is there a case to make that maybe that's the right move if McKercher stays in that halfback role?
It could be the right move. You're really depending on him going 85 to 90, I think, over the next sort of, at least 3 weeks. And I always like this type of player, like a Colby McKercher, to be the type where a lot of people sort of look at him and go, he's got a round 12 bye, trade him out as a round 12 bye.
Yeah.
I actually like this type of player to actually get me through the bye rounds as a guy who, number one, you expect, barring injury, he's going to be there. Number two, he's going to be basically part of your best 18 with a guy who can go 100 any given week. And three, he's not going to go backwards in price over those bye rounds if he does what we expect him to do. So I think he's a guy that in a perfect world, we actually hold kind of almost through till the final upgrade. But to do that, he needs to go 85 plus. And if he does that, it's a good trade in. He's still, if he goes 85 for the next 5 weeks, he's going to make $150,000, which is still decent enough, and he'll get you close to that nearly $700,000 and will be an easy upgrade at the end. So if he does that, I think it's a fine trade. The risk you run is obviously any role change or anything like that. Even if he just has one poor score, that cash generation is going to be stunted. You're not going to make much cash from that trade.
Yeah.
And he has potential even to go backwards.
It feels a little dirty because we were, I'll say, forced into trading him. I didn't. Yeah, but you're a fuckwit. So, no, I think that was all to do with the Sanders thing.
That was luck as well. Like
that's why
he was in my trade outs 2 weeks in a row and got kissed a bit.
So it feels a little bit dirty, but the other thing that kind of filled me with a little bit of confidence was listening to the Clarko press conference after the game on the weekend. There was like some very clear signs. It was the Fish and McKercher across halfback, and it was Sheasel more dabbling in the midfield. So listening to that kind of made me think, okay, well, if he stays in that role, he's getting kick-outs. Like I feel more confident. Part of me doesn't want to get rid of Roberts as well, even though the cash share might be on the other way.
The scoring will be equivalent.
Yeah, but I'd like to have them both. Yeah. So that's definitely where my mind's heading initially this weekend.
I think it's a play. I think there's a level of risk there because, like I said, if there's any, like if it just takes one down scoring, like Matt Roberts, if you get a bad weather game, like what Matt Roberts did, you score 49, his cash gen's now stopped. He might hold his cash, but it's not going up anymore. And the same thing with McKercher. It's just going to take one poor game.
You make a decent point because this week the moist meter is going off. For
he's playing up at Darwin. So
okay, we won't talk more about McKercher there, but you've got another downgrade target on the list.
Yeah, help me with the pronunciation here. I've got Bruce Reveal.
Don't need to pronounce it, mate. This guy has overtaken Bailey Fritsch. Have a look at that photo.
The photo is epic.
That's
but he's also, I think he's rocking the cornrows now, and he's been dubbed the Snoop Dogg from what he looks like.
That's straight racism. Who dubbed him that?
He's got the cornrows.
Who dubbed him that?
Look at his game, mate.
Did you dub him that, mate?
No. Other people got him in.
I thought he might have had a doobie on the field or something. I thought you get confused.
He was high as anything. But he apparently looks decent. My concerns with him is they had, one person remaining on the bench on the weekend.
And 3 million marks.
3 million marks, and he played 60% time on ground.
Okay.
With
one person on the bench.
Yeah, so I think there was, he was getting checked out on the bench with like cramping and stuff. He had a monster first quarter. I think he had 25 points in the first quarter and then went 9-9-9 after that. So he definitely slowed down.
Yeah.
So I think of the guys we've mentioned so far, he's got the lowest scoring potential.
I'd go Sullivan over him.
And he has the round 12 bye, which is why he's down. But with all the injuries at the Lions, he actually might be the one with the highest job security outside of Colby McKercher. Because they're all a bit up in the air, I think that you take a bit more of a swing with these guys. So players like Darcy Jones and Sullivan, I think, have a bigger scoring punch. And I think I'd rather take a swing there. And at number 5, he's a very popular target this week. James Peatling. I don't know if I love this move. I think I can only get around this move if it's, the difference. Like if you've got an extra bit of cash and you're doing like a Zach Williams, maybe Zach Williams was on your field or something like that, and he's a guy that gets down to Peatling, and then you can get Elliot Yeo to the player you want. If that ticks all those boxes, I think it's fine to do. I just don't love his job security. I don't love his role security, especially if Tom Green is playing this week. I think Cornelio's also back. He had a big game last week, but I think at 444,000, he might have one big cash rise and then basically stop when that role sort of ceases to exist. And there's every chance. He's been the sub several times this year, and he has the round 12 bye. So it just feels like you're going to get one decent price rise and then it's going to fizzle out pretty quick, and then you're just going to have to trade him out pretty soon after that anyway.
It could go south pretty quick, and I think the difference between he and a McKerch are in not quite similar price bracket, but we feel, I think, a little bit more confident in McKerch's role.
His role, yeah, and I think his scoring is probably more reliable as well. Now, the good thing is that Peatling's a forward, so maybe it pushes out someone worse off your field, but I'm personally thinking he's a bit too expensive for the type of player that he is. Like, I have no... Again, he's a very similar price to what Sweet was last week, but, number one ruck for several weeks. You feel much more confident going into a player like that than a James Peatling. But some people are doing it. I just personally am not getting around it here.
That wraps up the downgrade targets there, but why don't we take a break here and answer TJ's question. Thanks, TJ, for the super chat. He says, "G'day, gents. Can I get your thoughts on which you prefer, Yeo and Dempsey to McKercher and Moore, or Yeo and Roberts to either Dawson or Sarong and Sullivan?" I'm initially going the second one on
I think I'm going the second one too. I think, as much as we said that McKercher is probably going to be a solid scoring option, I think, especially just this week, Sullivan's going to be solid. I think he's not a bad fieldable option against the Eagles, especially if he is named and gets the full game.
It's the other end of that trade that I think swings it. Is like, I'd much rather have Dawson in my team than Moore. I know Moore's been doing some good things lately, but if you lock away Dawson, I still feel confident he's going to be a top 8 scoring midfielder. And
who would you go, Dawson or Sarong?
I think I'd go Dawson. I
think I'd go Sarong.
I don't know why it is Sarong. Do you think that if Sarong had given you 110 last week, do you think, how much do you think those kind of big scores sway our judgment week to week?
The thing that's swaying my judgment here is probably the bye round.
Okay.
And I also don't love Dawson's matchup this week. Who have they got? They've got the Brisbane Lions.
Okay. A little bit tough.
Now, there's lots of tackles available against the Lions, but they don't give up many marks, as we saw on the weekend, because they have all of them. They just take all the marks themselves. So, Dawson could tackle his way to a good score this week, but I think Sarong is probably someone that is more of a captain option this week. We've got another question here from Henza. Yeo to Saligo and Z Will to Short. Do we tick this one off as a bit of a value game? What are your thoughts on Jaden Short as a Richmond man? Are we expecting the Jaden Short of a couple of years ago?
I'm not buying into much Richmond at all.
Yeah, we suck. But is that helpful for Short? Like, lots of ball down there.
I just think it's different to what it historically has been for Jaden Short. So I just think gone are the days of Shorty doing that the main distributor role across halfback. I think there's other guys they want the ball in the hands of. Like, Richmond are now in a position where they're looking very forward to their next premiership. And even though Shorty's not obnoxiously old, I just don't think that I can buy into Shorty there. So, although he is extremely cheap for what he might have done in the past, I still think I'd be going elsewhere.
684, and I'm not sure we need defenders. Like, you stretch another 40k and you're getting someone like a Clayton Oliver.
Yeah, I'd find a way. Yeo to Saligo, I don't mind that part of the trade. He's going to obviously come up in our trade targets in a second. But yeah, I'd be looking for somewhere else, other than Short there.
Power Prawn Star's wanting us to talk him out of trades. So this is a new type of request. Talk me out of this. Lazaro to Sullivan, Yeo to Zorko. Don't have Heaney and need that DPP for the buys. Let's talk him out of Dane Zorko.
I quite easily can talk out of Dane Zorko. This could be... You're paying top dollar currently. So you're paying as much as Zorko's ever going to be, unless he keeps giving you 180s. But the thing with that too is...
to be fair, he's got a break even of 74.
Yeah, so you're not paid top dollar. But the sickening part of Zorko for me is I just feel like whatever week it is that I eventually get him in, that's the week the soft tissue injury comes around. Like...
let's be clear.
Maybe we're dying on the hill, but you're going against two things. You're going against an injury history player that's 45 years old, but you're also going against the fact that you don't pay top dollar and you wait for him to drop another 60.
This is the perfect example because his ownership in the top 1,000, top 100 is jumped a lot because of, obviously, he went fucking 180 last week.
It's not a bad score.
This is the perfect opportunity where you just fade those type of players who are expensive, have an injury risk, plus the round 12 bye. You know, you play the odds of something going wrong and you're getting a leg up onto that. You would hate to concede that, and lock that, loss in almost. And if anything does happen, you've only jumped on for the shit score. You've missed all the good shit before then.
Bro, it would be infuriating. But the other thing too is project that out over 2 or 3 weeks. Is you pay top dollar for Zorko instead of getting the underpriced guy. Maybe you're paying between 50 and 80k more than what you would have paid for a guy that. Let's call it like a Bontempelli, who we think could be underpriced. Well, what did that do to next week's trade? Suddenly you don't get the guy next week, and then you extrapolate that out over 3 weeks, and suddenly you're pissed off that your team's subpar. It's kind of like, that's where I'm at with that one.
So I think, I wouldn't be going Zorko. I don't mind the first part of the move, but if you're wanting a round 12 buy guy, I think Josh Dunkley is my dude. I think he's just a guy that's being underrated, and I think he'll play better against the Crows, who don't give up very many marks, but allow a lot of tackles, and that is Dunkley's bread and butter.
Sure. Corey's done another super chat in here. What we might do for you, Corey, is we'll keep things moving along, and then we'll come back at the top when we answer questions, come straight back, and we'll answer your question, Corey, there, if you're happy with that. Because Trey's also put in a super chat to get the big boys going. So we'll quickly talk about our upgrade targets. We appreciate everyone. Sorry.
We'll talk about some trade targets because there's a few interesting names here. Number one, I still have Nick Dacos. He's been the number one target for the last few weeks. Has a good matchup against the Eagles this week.
For sure.
Number two, and look, I was unsure about this at the start of the week, but I am locking it in. Number two trade target, which I haven't heard any other podcast discuss.
Oh, okay.
Marcus Bontempelli, man, he is primed for the picking, and I'm hopefully not mozzing the great man because he's probably going to be the guy that I bring in.
You suck up.
But
I'll say is I've warned you.
Richmond is the great form turnaround team,
the traffic cones.
And look, I know you gave him the Flog award on the Monday podcast,
I did.
but go and actually watch that second half.
No, don't. I won't be convinced.
He looked really good, mate. He looked really good. He got maybe not max votes, but he was maybe the second highest coach's vote getter.
So maybe my strategy should be just don't watch the players. I don't mind the Richmond matchup. The yellow sash now is like high vis traffic worker, traffic codes. It's a high vis sash. So I mean, I don't mind the logic. And if you get on, at least if it goes well, I'll get behind that. And if it goes shit, I get to say I told you so.
So I think he's a good trade in target, and not many people are going this week as well. So I think he's a good one. I'm finding it hard splitting Andrew Brayshaw.
Dirty fence sitter.
I'm a huge fence sitter. And Darcy Parish. Now, I know you're anti-Darcy Parish, but I've done a bit of digging. Darcy Parish...
What is it that... Parish has never done anything to me. I'm a real prick, hey?
You're just dick.
I'm always the one. But just Darcy Parish, I don't know.
He... Last year, he was great. Like he was, I think he averaged 107 for the season. And his biggest thing was he had a high floor. I think he only went below 90 once the entire season, and just racks up the ball. No one's going to ever tag him with Zach Merritt in the side, and now Mick Martin as maybe as a go-to shutdown target. So I like him. He also, I think in an interview after the game, was saying that he was feeling good now that he's sort of got his legs underneath him after being a bit more low and getting his time managed because of the hamstring injury that made him start the season on the sidelines. So I can sort of spin a narrative to say he was down and the time on ground was down because he was recovering from that hamstring versus Brayshaw, who... started a bit more on the wing, still there a little bit more than last season, but high 70s in terms of CBAs, has the really good buy round. I think that's like a buy round specific tiebreaker for me.
Okay.
I think both of them are decent value. Number 4, Bailey Dale and Jack Sinclair. So 2 defenders here, both on the round 15 buy. I want your take on these guys because I know you're looking at Jack Sinclair this week, but I also think that Bailey Dale, with Libba's injury, do we see Ed Richards return back into the midfield a bit more? He's got a really, really good... his last 3 average is right
massive.
up there.
It's
I think
massive.
it actually is the highest of the comp, 133 in his last 3. He also has Richmond this week, which is the number 1 team for defenders to score against, break even of 50. He's also saving you 40k on a Sinclair. Do you think he is a guy that, in terms of expected output from here, matches someone like a Sinclair?
I think there's definitely the potential for it. I'm a little concerned about his first half, second half split from his game on the weekend, because I remember him going...
him move forward.
Okay, and well, I mean, that's concerning in itself. Because what I was about to say was that of all of the coaching moves that Luke Beveridge has made this year, the one that seems like he's a genius is the Bailey Dale sub into the Bailey Dale 160. Do you know what I mean? So for me, that would suggest that Bevo, he's going to play him in that role because that's his big coaching masterstroke that he's done. But the going forward, the first half, second half split, whereas I just feel like a guy like Sinclair, to me, it's more of a known quantity. Would you kind of agree?
I think there's an element of that. I think that's why he's more popular. If it was just up to me, I'd probably prefer to go Bailey Dale. I think that there's been a change in his role and his pecking order in terms of the team usage. I'm not super worried about that experiment of him going forward. I think they were trying to win the game at the end. They pushed him forward, but the reason they probably lost the game at the end is there was a lot of back half turnovers when they did that. So it didn't really work. So I think they're going to shift him back there.
Oh, you buying into the Bulldogs this week, mate. I'm not sure about it. I'm not sure about it.
Richmond, the great form turnaround team. So if
he doesn't need to turn around, mate. We want him going that direction. Keep going that direction.
If you take out those low time on ground games, and even if I leave in the one where he did score 47, he's averaging 109 on the season. If you take out that 104 if you take out that sub game, even before this last stretch of hot form. Okay. I think there's a world where he averages over 100, and his price is going to shoot up. And they both have the round 15 buy, which is also very helpful because if it goes to shit, you can trade him out to someone who's already had their buy. But Sinclair probably is a bit more of a known quantity. I actually just prefer him off half back than in the middle in the Saints system. But those are just my 2 cents.
Fair,
He's a good player to watch, though.
Bit of airtime for this last trade target, Mr. Saligo. What are your thoughts?
It's the last week you can go there. I prefer some of these other options, especially when you have the defender status you can lean on at a similar sort of price. But he is still the cheapest of the bunch, $729,000. I prefer him over Oliver this week just because I've seen it for longer. I also think that the team is probably scoring better. They've got a better run and he's got a better buy round. I think this is very much a buy round play. You get him for round 15. He's not a guy that you're necessarily having to hold through that round 15 buy. Yeah. He's an easy guy that you can flick at round 15 and get someone coming off their buy round. So that's the reason I think this works.
You worried about the Lions matchup this week?
The Lions matchup is not the greatest.
But then he goes Collingwood, West Coast, Hawthorn, Richmond.
It's beautiful, yeah. So he's got a great run after the Lions matchup. But
you're not waiting a week just to do with the value.
His break-even's 50. You wait a week, he's out. His price is too far gone. So I think it's the last week to do it. And I do think if you're looking at that cheaper end, I prefer him over an Oliver. I want to wait a week on Oliver if I can. Okay, mate. You get your wish. We'll quit yabbering on. Woo! Can't even get my bloody sunnies on.
Big boy, the premature. Woo!
Here we go. So
let's go.
I tell you, mate, I'm riding the Bulldogs this week because the top 2 big boys are big boys in stature as well as scores. Number 1, Timmy English. He's back, man. He is red hot. 131.7 in his last 3, and he comes up against Richmond, who give up scores to Ruckman and also midfielders, of which Tim English essentially is. A lot of people are potentially trading that way for the Jordan Sweet out with COVID. So I think that's a brilliant, brilliant move, and you will get instant reward. And then Marcus Bontempelli. I think he's going to go good against Richmond this week because you had Sarong go 140. You got 140. You had Brayshaw go 125. Young went 125 last week.
But they're interested in the pill, you see.
Bonds is interested. And mate, they've got to win this game. Like this is do or die for the Dogs. Like there's heat.
They had to win last week too.
Yeah, well,
didn't make a difference.
There's a bit of talk that he got a bit of attention from Connor Nash as well. Richmond have got no one. absolutely no one that can run with Bontempelli. Even if you stick a picket on him, I don't care.
I'm faithful to the big boys too, which means I'm going to probably have to... What am I going to put on him, Mitch? You tell me. You're the big boy guy.
So he plays the Saturday night.
What am I doing?
If you have the Harry Barnett red dot, you can VC him and go into a guy later on. So I think that will be a popular move and probably what I look to do. Number 3, Zach Merritt. He is just basically permanently top 5 until I see otherwise. The Giants is a tougher matchup, and with Green back, it's a little tougher, but just based on form, he has to be in here.
Based on merit.
Yeah, you can't. There's definitely merit to have him in my top 5. So number 4, Nick Dacos against the West Coast Eagles. There's been a little chat that they're going to experiment or get someone to run next to him, but I don't care. Like he goes 95 with Finn tagging him.
We saw Sam Walsh try and run next to him at that last stoppage in last week's game. Didn't go well, did it?
Good luck to you.
Good luck running next to him, mate. Those little legs.
Yeah, so I back him in. So I think that he's going to be my backup C if a Bontempelli fails. And then number 5, he spent time higher than this at times this week.
Is it Reveal again?
No.
Spending times higher. With your glasses on.
It is Zach Butters. No Connor Rosie, and against the easiest team for midfielders to score against. The Geelong Cats have given up some big scores to mids in the past. The only flag is, especially, we're doing this before teams are named, if Mark O'Connor is named, I'm a little bit concerned that he's going to run a tag on him. With no Rosie, he's probably the obvious guy to go to. And they could still even run like an Atkins, sort of, running with him at stoppages a little bit. So I'm not sure of his ceiling as well, but he is definitely a decent VC option because he plays on the Friday night. So
some agricultural big boys there, mate.
Yes. And so that means that Max Gawn is not the top 5. He has one sub-100 score and he's out.
Wow.
But no, he does play...
ruthless, mate.
He does play Carlton, who are a little bit tougher. They've got the dual ruck set up. And
I see a scenario where we are very unhappy with ourselves after tonight's game.
He could go big. So he's at number 6. And if you wanted to VC and
is
there's
he matchup proof?
He kind of is, a little bit. There's something about the way Melbourne played last week in terms of the game style as well, like just chipping it around a bit more.
I don't know whether that was a specific plan for Geelong or what.
Do you think it could be applicable for Carlton as well, though? Like, they kind of play similar, Carlton and Geelong. So if it works against Geelong, do you try it as well against Carlton? And
maybe you do. I see a scenario where, like I said, I'm a slave to the big boys. I'll always go with the big boys, but I think...
You just want it both ways to say, I told you so?
Correct. Yeah, 100%. You got me.
You can definitely go there. I think he has the ceiling, and if it's a VC, you've got really nothing to lose. So I have him at 6. Okay. Number 7, I've got Caleb Sarong. My question to you is, James Jordan. He went to Lachie Whitfield last week. The week before, he went to Noah Anderson.
Okay.
Does James Jordan go to a Sarong this week, or do you think he's more likely to go to someone like
Hayden Young or something?
A Hayden Young, potentially, or does he go to Luke Ryan?
I'd go to Hayden Young just so I could be close to him. But Hayden Young's so damaging, hey. Look, he did a good job on Whitfield. Obviously, Whitfield plays a slightly different position to the guys that we're talking about there. There's a few tag targets at Fremantle.
There's a few, which maybe leans him. So I don't bother with any of them, but I think... I'd be more like... I would expect Hayden Young to be... If I was coaching, I'd go to him.
Fuck yeah.
I don't think he's just more damaging than
left
someone
foot,
like
right
Sarong.
Foot, didn't fucking matter.
But Sarong might get it if he gets off to a good start. Rowan Marshall, he would be higher if I was just a bit more confident in his body and we knew that he was solo rucking. But I think Hayes will get another go again. He looks pretty good. The unsung hero, Adam Treloar, is at number 9.
Adam Treloar's in the big boys?
Yeah, mate. The matchup against Richmond, I'm telling you, it is a saviour. And
this makes me sick.
Don't disrespect Adam Treloar. He is absolutely killing it this season, averaging 112 points. He has gone 116, 83, 137, 102, 125, 114 in his past games. So he is killing it. No Libba, so he's up a level in terms of the pecking order. And then Sammy Flanders. Flanders. He'd be higher if I knew what role he was playing.
The moist meter says no go.
No go. I think there's a suspension on Powell. There's talk about Lukosius is, being a backman experiment's gone, so he's going to go forward. So I think
Flanders
more than likely he's playing half back.
Yeah.
I'd prefer in the Darwin game he played the centre bounces, but he could still tear up North Melbourne. Those are the big boys. Let us know who you are captaining this week.
Okay.
You're welcome.
All we do is talk. We never answer questions. So one more thing, spicy takes, and then we're answering questions. I held my maracas up too high. They went out of shot.
Oh, keep them in shot, mate.
Keep them low.
All
okay.
right.
Spicy take, selfish as always. Took. Loves it moist. There's the spicy take. I reckon the Tookster loves it moist. He didn't love it moist last week, but I reckon he goes up to Darwin. He says, I love it up here, boys. Give it to me moist. I'll get in there. I'll get some cuddles. I'll get on the end of that slippery pill. Don't worry about it. The Tookster, you go on 140.
140
for the Ox songs.
Let's go. So
my moist meter was going off. I was detecting something, and I think it was a big Took 140.
I like it. I'm in the 140 zones too, and I'm going to back up my call on my number 2 overall captain, and that is Bontempelli of 2023 is back. He's going to show us all what we're hoping to see from the start of the season. I think he's going to go 140 and just dominate the Richmond Tigers. So back in the big boy in Bont, number 2. I'm putting my money where our mouth is. I'm VCing him. So
okay.
Let's go, Bontempelli. Don't let me down, son. All right.
Beautiful.
Let's head back up some of those super chats.
Let's bloody do it. Let's get into some questions. So I think it was Corey from memory that had that super chat.
Scroll
there.
back up there.
Squiz Corey here. So Corey's question was thoughts on Yo to English and then Williams to Sullivan. As was originally going to Sinclair and Moore, but have
absolutely
Sweet.
Love it.
Yeah. So I think that you're fixing up that Sweet issue, and
so now we can reveal that obviously Tim English is the number 1 big boy this week. So
well, we revealed it at the start of the thing for the Keen Eyed Observer.
Yeah,
but
we did.
That was your fuck up. So
so I think if you're going to trade in any player, I think he's got the highest ceiling this week, and you can't take donuts. So hopefully your bench players in your midfield can cover you for a week, and Sullivan's a good get there.
For sure. Okay, we are scrolling to the bottom of the chat, so if you want your question answered, type it in there again, and we'll try to get to it there. Now, while we wait for the stream to catch up.
I did see a question that I wanted to catch up.
Yeah.
I can't remember who put it in there, but it was along the lines of, can we go to, like a different ruck option, so your players like a Conway, could you go like a Port Adelaide sort of, who's that, Vicentini, is it?
Ooh.
Dante Vicentini, or one of those cheap options or anything like that to cover just for the week. I don't love it because it feels like a
Sweet. Is that
something like that, or Luke Jackson, pivot him in there. I don't love it because it feels like just too many trades in the ruck, and we kind of see this most years.
I mean, we feel pretty confident that you need 2 of Gawn, English, or Marshall at the end of the day. So I think that if you're forced into it this week, you maybe don't like it, but you've copped enough bullets to just go, let's get that over and done with.
And you've got your ruck sorted.
Fingers crossed. We'll probably just balls the shit out of it. But
English down, confirmed.
That's where I think that we're going there. Okay, question here. So Gamer, Donkey, Saligo or Parish, slightly different price brackets there.
There's different price brackets. I think there's more of a chance that Parish you don't have to trade out for a while than Saligo. So I'm Parish in this situation. What about you?
Okay. Well, I'm Saligo because we know my thoughts on. I'm not the right person to answer that question, am I?
What do you think Parish averages from here? So he's priced at 97. So price under 100. I think he at least has to go a ton. So I think he's probably outscoring Saligo by about minimum of 5, maybe 10.
So game time for me is is somewhat the concern. So prior to last week against West Coast, he for the previous 4 to 5 weeks was going around that mid to low 70s time on ground. And I know that you had a little bit of intel there that perhaps there was something niggling going on, but my theory on it was that he was kind of splitting roles with Caldwell. Caldwell was getting a similar amount of game time, and that Essendon midfield was, especially once they added Perky Boy in there. So
Caldwell's just a stepladder now, so that issue's gone.
I'm concerned that at certain points throughout the year, they've just seen Parish as not one of their most relevant midfielders. You've got Zach Merritt in there dominating, and then you play your Perky Boy as a more of a accountable guy, and Caldwell, gets it done from that perspective as well. So I'm just nervous with Parish that at any point in the year they could decide that he's not their premium midfielder that they want in there all the time.
Yeah, but I could definitely see that. But I think if you maybe the difference is what does the cash do for you next week? Because like I said, there's like 120,000 difference off the top of my head.
Yeah.
So if that makes you able to do something more exciting next week that you're happy with, then you could back that in. I think there's more value in Saligo from like just an underpriced point of view. But the off chance that Parrish is good enough just to hold until we're really in luxury position, I think has me leaning that way. But he's round 14. Saligo's round 15. This is where you can really use those buy rounds as a tiebreaker. I think most teams probably have more round 15 buy players. If you've got a Dacos, if you've got a Dawson, a Bont, a Steele, there's a few more of those guys around, but it really is. It's a dirty words these days, but team dependent. This kind of thing.
Subspawn, yeah, Parrish calf in the preseason. So, I mean,
yes.
Maybe we're seeing the repercussions of that too. Just a bit jaded. Okay.
Yes.
So, Yo to Sarong this week and save Williams for Sinclair next week. Virgil, what are you thinking there?
I mean, I think I'd be trading Yo over Williams because there's just more cash to use that way.
I feel like you want to get rid of Williams this week as well.
You'd probably ideally want to do both, because Williams is the player that I hate holding these players because they do nothing for you. They don't score well. They're not making cash.
Yeah.
So I want to just make better use out of that spot. And he's got enough money on his head that you can do something. But, I mean, it depends. This person might have some other bullets to deal with as well. So I do agree Yo first.
Worth a mention there, Subspawn said, as an Essendon supporter, he reckons that Brad Scott really rates Parrish. So, and
I think there's something to that too.
Well, this is the thing. If you're a supporter of that team, you watch that team closer than anyone. So, particularly if we have a comment on the team that you support and you think it's off base, certainly don't listen to us on that because we might just be speculating. So, Chris has jumped in here with the super chat. So, Yo to Sinclair. Roberts to who with a budget of $965?
For me, it's Bont if you don't have him. Marcus Bontempelli. I think he's the guy. If you already have Bont, I'd be picking either a Brayshaw or a Parrish, I think would be my other two options.
Bont, Brayshaw, Parrish. Is that your order too?
Bont, Parrish, Brayshaw.
Okay, you had them on the same level in the trade targets,
I think
didn't you?
maybe the buy rounds might split your decision there, but I think there's probably a bit more value in Parrish than a Brayshaw. But if you don't have Bont, he's my guy. He's my guy this week. I think the ceiling is there, and the matchup is perfect for this round.
Sean's calling you out here. Gorney's matchup, bright green tonight.
Bright green, is it?
You got to put your glasses on when you look at these matchups,
I think it is. Let me double check this one. But
is it Mr. Worldwide?
It's got the Carlton matchup, yeah, but it's not just Mr. Worldwide. It is also De Koning.
Okay.
I believe is it De Koning? No. Who's the other guy? Yeah, it's De
Tom.
Koning. Yeah. So ruck matchups versus Carlton. Look, over the last 5, it's a +7 based on DFS.
Hey,
so
that's fucking oath.
that's pretty solid.
Right.
Over the last 10, it's a +4. So it's a neutral to slightly positive matchup. I wouldn't call it bright green.
So are you saying maybe that you're more concerned about the game plan that Melbourne went in with last week and perhaps a replica of that, given it worked? Is that
Yes,
kind of
and I also think the last time Max Gawn played Carlton, they had a similar setup and he only managed like a 80, I want to say. I think it was in a finals game as well, and he solo rucked that game. So, yeah, in the semi-finals, he managed 88 with 36 hitouts against the Blues. They really restricted his marking in that game, so only 4 marks, had no tackles. So his history against this team and this setup, even as a solo ruck, is not the greatest.
All right. I think that we would both say, but to be fair to Sean, it's not something that we would talk anyone out of.
If he goes 130, I will not be surprised.
100%. 100%.
So, yeah, he's still number 6. He's
to
still
an
up
extent, he's matchup proof, isn't he?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, this is a good question, I think, because Clayton Oliver is going to be somebody that if he's not on your mind this week, he's certainly going to be on your mind in the coming weeks. What is it that we're seeing from Oliver in the next, this week or in the coming weeks to make his launch?
On.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. First, I think you want to see him turn up again.
Yeah, agree.
I'd love to see that time on ground get over 80%. I don't think we will see that. I just think that they're running things a little bit different at Melbourne. Like all those guys' time on ground is just down a little bit. Like Petrarca's tog is down. So I'd like to see that tog up. Would be my number one thing. If I saw that over that, like, you know, the mid 80s, like I'd be launching. What about you? Anything else that you'd like to see from a Clary?
I think he gets cheap enough in the next 2 weeks that I could ignore the tog if the scoring was there. Like, what's his price stat figure now? He'd be
like 87, I think. Let me double check that and not just talk shit.
He's Clayton Oliver. This is ridiculous.
It's Clayton Oliver.
But I mean, is this a McRae trap that we've all been falling for over the last sort of 24 months or so? So
he's even cheaper. He's priced at 83.
This week, I really like it as an aggressive move if you're looking like Swiss cheese and you just bullets everywhere. Like, I like it as that aggressive move to potentially trade in 2 premiums this week. One is your downgrade and one is your upgrade. I think that could be a crazy move, but I'll be looking very closely over the next 2 weeks. And if I see 100 average over the next 2 weeks, then there's every chance that I'm getting.
He's definitely someone I'm considering for next week. He's a potential trading target for me next week. If I think you want to see another ton. In a perfect world, the time on ground is up. But even if it's not, if he scores well against Carlton, which is a tougher matchup, he then I think has the Eagles the week after and then the Saints. So it's a better run after that. Yeah, he goes Eagles, St Kilda, Freo, Collingwood. So much better run after that. So I think you just want to see him score well, look good again, and I guess pass the eye test is the biggest thing.
Fair call. Now, Jackson here is in a bit of a pickle. He's just lost, he says. He's got Tom Green, Caldwell, Yo, and Rosie. What does he do? No options. Mate. Just like, what does he do? He's lost.
You hold Caldwell. Fingers crossed he gets up and plays well. Again, the forward line you can kind of hide behind. Yo goes first. Green, I mean, apparently if Green's good, obviously that's a hold. I think he's a hold anyway. He's definitely, at least, if he's not playing this week, he's playing next week. So I think you go Rosie and Yo out. And hopefully that can afford you something solid, whether it's a Parrish, an Oliver, Saligo, all those sort of types, Sinclair. There's a few options around that price tag. You just get in the 2 best players you like, go back to the trade targets, rewind the video, and if there's anyone you like in there, I think you just go there and make sure your buy rounds, use this as a chance to maybe if you need to shuffle and fix up your buy structure, that might be helpful. But I think Rosie and Yo out is probably the way I'd go.
Okay, last one, and then we'll let people freshen up before the traders jump on. Errol Goulden, what are your thoughts? Could he be spicy operator to climb the ranks?
I have been down on Errol this season. Okay. I just think the Heaney addition to the midfield changes things for him because he's a guy that he's not an inside mid. He's predominantly a wing player. So he needs the ball to come out to him. And I just think with Heaney being in there, he's a guy that he's not looking to the wings when he gets the ball. He's looking down the gut, straight down the middle, being aggressive. And I just think that's going to limit his ceiling. He's only had one score over 120 this season against the Eagles. He had a 120 on the dot against the Hawks. So I still think he'll be solid, but I think he's more of like a 105 to 110 guy. He's not like the over 110 guy I think we saw last year. That's just my take on him. And if that's the case, then his value, he's kind of priced exactly where I expect him to sort of continue to be. He's priced at 108. I think that's kind of what he is.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair as well, you look back at his matchups and against those games where we'd expect him to perform well, like Collingwood this year's been an easy matchup, Richmond this year's been an easy matchup, West Coast, Hawthorn, like he's done well, like he's got 120s in there, but last year those games would have been 145.
They were, yeah,
for Errol. So
like I remember the stat was the first reason people were wanting to start him is those first 5 matchups were teams that he averaged like 140 against for those first 5 games, like Collingwood, Essendon, Richmond, West Coast. Like
I see a scenario where later in the year when our teams are starting to look a little more complete, where Errol might be a guy that you trade into for a matchup, or when you're starting to get into that.
You also see that Luke Parker's not named. He's going to the 2s again.
Bro,
his 3rd week in a row.
Imagine lining up against Luke Parker in the Scoobies.
What's going on there? Why is he not?
Oh, nice to meet you, mate. Get up your signature. Oh, thumbs up. Good work, Mitch. Well done.
I thought you'd turn this off. But yeah, I thought why? Why is he not coming back into the side?
Hey, mate, Heaney's just that good. It's only taken him 10 years to
Surely you can
realise.
squeeze him in and still have Eni in there, though, right?
Well, yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe they're looking at the structure. Now, we couldn't get to all the questions, but you are still partnering up with
Head
Q.
over to askmeonq.com/ballboys. That's Q spelt QU. I'll be able to get to those guys, especially when we know a bit more information with teams dropping in about an hour's time.
100%.
If we get some spicy or unexpected news there. Askmeonq.com/ballboys. Go over there. I will be, we're hitting the road tomorrow, but I'll be accessing my emails and still be able to get to your questions, guys. So head over there, get your questions in, and I'll send you an email with a personalised response to help you through your trades this week.
Beautiful. For sure.
All right, we might leave it there, guys, and make sure all you guys that are tuning in live, give that video that you're watching right now a big thumbs up. Head over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify and give us a 5-star rating and review if you are enjoying the pods this year. And as always, have a good round this, guys. Hopefully we don't come out looking like Swiss cheese this round, and we'll get those ranks coming up. See ya. Bye.